We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it. Because let's be honest, dating kind of sucks. But maybe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I bring a new topic, trend, skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because love isn't broken, but dating kinda is. But I'm reinventing it. Let's do this. Well, hello there, sugar pantses, and welcome back to another episode of Reinventing Dating. And in fact, this is not just another episode. This is the start of a new series. I'm actually breaking them up into seasons so I can focus on just one topic for at least 3 or 4 episodes, and it makes it super easy to binge, to learn, and apply. And there is no way that I can talk about modern dating or reinventing dating without talking about online dating. The dating apps, everything from Bumble to Tinder to Match to Coffee Meets Bagel to all of the different online dating sites and apps, and most importantly, whatever, if you've used them or not, are they working for us? Are they getting us to love? Because I'm not here just to discuss dating. Dating is a vehicle to relationships and to long-lasting happiness, love, success, all the things that healthy and happy relationships bring us. So a lot of times when we talk about dating, we're talking about how to show up, who to be, how to act, and all of that is pretty much bullshit, because you're gonna be you, you're gonna have stuff, they're gonna have stuff. So it's way smarter for us to know ourselves, to understand healthy dating and relationships, and be able to apply the skills and mindsets that get us to love long term. So I don't like to talk about dating just as dating. Dating to me has a goal. Dating to me has a purpose. And part of the reason dating isn't working in our society is we don't give it a goal and a purpose. Our only goal is, how do I feel? Do they make me tingle in my panties? Do I feel fireworks or sparks? And if I don't, I think I'm just going to move on to the next one. Which you'll learn today is a major problem with online dating. Now, who remembers when we thought as single people that online dating was going to save us? Riding in on that horse, helping us find our soulmates. All we had to do is go online and use an app for either free or a nominal cost. And boom, algorithm is going to find your match. It all seemed so obvious and awesome and magical because we didn't have to pick people now. Algorithms, complicated algorithms, were now going to pick people for us. Woo! Dating and love and relationships were just going to get easier and easier because now we had computers on our side. But I personally don't think that online dating has really lived up to all the hype. And instead, I have watched client after client after client come to me with straight up horror stories, right? I'm not even fucking being dramatic. Horror stories of things that people said to them, sexual harassment, dick pics, people finding them off the apps. I think we forgot that dating and meeting people and connecting for love is overall supposed to be a positive experience. Let's quickly step back to a simpler time. The simpler time being like the 70s and 80s. Now, I'm not saying that was a great time for relationships. I am saying that the things that we saw happen in dating during that time, right before the online dating boom happened, there wasn't quite the feeling of rejection, of devastation that I am seeing in response to online dating. So let's just take a step back here for a second. So let's just take a step back and think about if you were dating in 1985. Couple of things. Number one, you probably met through a friend, through a family member, at work, through an organization in the community. So you've already gotten what we call like a vetting process. You already know people who know them. You probably already know them yourself. So when you go on that date or that first or second date, you're probably going to feel pretty safe. You're probably going to feel pretty safe overall on your dates. The worst thing that's going to happen are a couple of things. Number one, you might get stood up. They may not show up and not contact you. The second worst thing that's going to happen is you have a bad date and you choose to not see them again. The third thing that may happen would be ghosting in the 80s, which means they just stop calling your phone and asking you out for dates. Now, of course, I'm not underestimating problems with gender roles, problems with misogyny, the fact that no matter what, there were still dangers in any time when women are single and out there meeting people and dating. I am not saying that at all. But let's fast forward to now. The majority of people are meeting people online. So what does that mean? You're not maybe talking to one person. You could be talking to 3 or 5 or 10 or more. Number one. Number two, half of those people never fucking go anywhere. So you're putting time and energy and effort into this little machine that we hold in our hands that is there supposedly somebody who says that they're that person on the other side that we're trying to get to know. We're trying to do the vetting process ourselves, or we're hoping that online dating apps and sites do it for us. And yes, it's annoying when people leave us hanging, when we reach out and they really don't get back to us or give us 1 or 2 word answers. Yes, that's annoying. But let's talk about the other real things that happen in online dating that I will be breaking down over multiple episodes. 30% plus are not who they say they are. They are either scammers, possibly in a foreign country, acting like they're just around the corner from you. They are people who are already in relationships or married and pretending that they're not. There are people who are using online dating as a way to meet potential victims in bad situations, in unhealthy and downright dangerous situations. And we cannot ignore that whether you're connecting with people or not, there are still people who are assholes, are total jerks that may say mean things when you don't answer or act the way that they think you should. Send you photos that you're not wanting, such as penises, let me tell you, in case anybody is listening to this and you're confused about this, the only time to send a picture of your fucking privates is when that person has asked for a picture of your privates and you are dating and you trust them enough that you know that picture is not then going to be spread to other people, to their friends, or on the whole internet. It's a fucking thing. We cannot be in denial about it. And at the end of the day, with all of these things happening, mean people, feelings of rejection or ghosting, feeling like we're talking to people over and over and over and it's not going anywhere. We can't even get people to meet up with us in real life. And when we do, we're disappointed because their profiles don't match with what they said they were or who they were or their pictures. And we are left confused, single, and alone. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you've been harassed, you've been potentially stalked. There is a shit ton of sexual assault that happens because of online dating. I'm going to be getting into that into another episode, hopefully, fingers crossed, with an expert in dating apps and how sexual offenders are using dating apps to find their victims, because it's a fucking thing. And all of this is basically taking us to a place where we are now not wanting to date. We are now not wanting to meet new people. We are now not trusting that there's good people out there. We're now not trusting that there's love and relationships out there. So with all of the other shit, that alone is enough for us to question and really ask if online dating is working for us. Because if it is not getting us meeting people, creating real connections, moving us towards love and a healthy relationship, then it's not working. No matter how many people you meet, no matter how many options you see, no matter this plethora of people that you think are potential matches, this is not working for us. I don't like online dating. In fact, I'm one of the few people who talks about dating and relationships that is not pro online dating. Listen, if apps were working, if this wasn't a multi-billion-dollar industry and people were truly finding healthy relationships on them, I would be shouting from the mountaintops. I would be creating partnerships with different apps, but I am not doing that because it's not working. And not only is it not working, it's not working. And before I go any further, I think it's really important that I bring up a statistic that I said before on the former version of this podcast, and I say all over the place, which is whether or not online dating apps and sites want us to believe that online dating is the only way to meet people. But the truth is that online dating, which has now been around for 20 plus years, only still has a success rate of 12%. 1-2. That's barely over the percentage of people meeting in bars, which is like 9 to 10%. Not only are we walking away feeling rejected, feeling exhausted, possibly feeling offended or assaulted, it's not actually working. But I digress. And this week, we're going to remove all of the scams. We're going to remove all of the assaults and sex offenders. We're going to remove all of just the bullshit and get down to some science and psychology of one of the ways that online dating isn't working for us. And I'm going to start it off with a quick story. So imagine that you need milk. So you go to the grocery store to pick some up. Now, when you get to the dairy aisle, you see there are literally dozens of options. If you live in Wisconsin, there's maybe hundreds of options. I'm not even joking. These days, not only do you have a decision to make on the percentage of fat, do you want 1% or 2% whole, but you also get to choose the source. Cows or almonds, soybean, oats, the list goes on and on. Now, almost dumbfounded, you stand in front of the aisle, and if you have no idea what milk to pick, there are so many choices that you become completely overwhelmed. Most of us know what milk, when we're going to the store, we're going to choose. We've made those decisions. But today, I want to talk a little bit about the paradox of choice in online dating, the psychology behind it, and why it's making dating and getting closer to love even harder. So, the paradox of choice is a concept by a man named Barry Schwartz. He wrote a book about it, I believe, in 2004. But the basic idea stipulates that while we might believe that being presented with multiple options actually makes it easier to choose one that we're happy with, that's not actually true. Having an abundance of options actually requires more effort to make a decision and can leaving us feeling unsatisfied with our choice. So I'm just going to dig into this, some great concepts I found in some articles that I will make sure in the show notes. One of the places that this comes from is if you're listening and you are from the States or a Western society, but especially America, one of our main ideas is freedom. If you are an American, you hear the idea of freedom every day. Now, this freedom is often associated with choice and with a belief that greater choice is equated to greater freedom. That logic is easy to follow. Instead of being forced to choose between one or two different options, people have the number to choose between almost unlimited number of options. So there's something really exciting in our mind and our body when we have lots of options. So let's take a second and apply this to online dating. Now, back in the day, our grandparents had a limited pool of options for who they could date. Without the internet, they had to rely on meeting people in person. And the number of single people that they met within a suitable age range was probably not very large. Now, these days, dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, Match, all of them have changed the game. We no longer have to rely on meeting someone that runs in the same circles as we do. This app allows us to swipe through potential matches that we may have never crossed paths with. So these people are essentially complete strangers. Now, at first thought, this seems great. We have access to all of these people who we would never really be able to conventionally meet. It doesn't end there. However, with so many possibilities for a partner at your fingertips, so too enters the paradox of choice. How do you pick one person to date when there are so many other options out there that might be better? This might mean that you make rash decisions since you don't have enough time to look through all the options, or you might get careless with your decisions and just swipe right on everyone. As a result of the paradox of choice, people also seem less likely to commit or spend the necessary quality time getting to know someone since they can just get right back on the app. One user in an article for Stanford Daily writes, "The seemingly infinite supply of options allows me to care less, to distance myself, to treat people like items in an online shopping cart. As a result, I found myself deeply unhappy with all of it." Anybody else ever feel that way? Now, in every aspect of our lives, we are confronted with myriad of choices. How we make these choices is often more important than what we choose. And that has brought to the forefront the idea of a maximizer versus a satisfier. Now, maximizers treat relationships like clothing. I expect to try on a lot before finding the perfect fit. In a maximizer's mind, There is someone out there who is the perfect lover, the perfect situation. And although there's nothing wrong with their current relationships, who knows what's possible if you keep your eyes or mind open? Anyone feeling that? Now, the opposite of maximizers are satisfiers, and they have the ability to know a good thing when they see it without obsessing over what ifs. It's not the same thing as settling for a bad option because satisfying also means having standards. But it does also mean ignoring the temptation of finding out if the grass is really greener on the other side. In theory, it makes sense. If you're always holding out for something better, chances are you'll end up with nothing. That, or you'll realize you left all your good options in the cold, and you'll end up with someone who's wrong for you. By that logic, satisfiers are always more likely to end up happy. Now, as you can imagine, the maximizer's quest for perfection comes at a cost. In general, maximizers are less satisfied and more prone to depression, which makes total sense because if you refuse everything but the absolute best, you probably won't end up with very much. Now, not only do satisfiers experience less FOMO, fear of missing out, but they're just also much happier than maximizers. Now, in the book Modern Romance, comedian Aziz Ansari, whatever you think about him, this is still interesting, and a team of sociologists investigate past and present dating practices and found in one 1932 study that 1/3 of married couples had previously either lived within 5 blocks of each other, or even more alarming, 1/8 of these married couples had actually lived in the same building before they got hitched. Because people traveled so infrequently, much like the cave people before us, they had little choice but to mate with the first eligible person that they came along. Now, I'm not saying that you need to date the first or second person that has come along in your life. What I am saying is there's something to be said about the fact that the idea of online dating is giving us some kind of permission to never commit, to never actually go all in, to give ourselves permissions to not have the uncomfortable moments that come with real love and real relationships, to push people away when real things come up, even if they are still a potentially healthy mate for you. It allows us to not do the uncomfortable things that come along with healthy relationships. And that's a problem because on some level, at some point, we have to make a choice. We have to say, let's fucking try this. Let's do this together and see where it goes. And it's not going to be perfect. And it's sometimes going to be messy. And we're sometimes going to hurt each other's feelings. But we can do this. With the knowledge and the skills in our back pocket, we can absolutely do this. So I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you went all in? When was the last time that you not only went all in on your feelings, but all in on your truths, all in on asking for your needs, all in listening and being present for your partner, all in to commit to working through the tougher times? And I'm not saying we do this once again with somebody who's not ready, who's not healed, and is not going to show up in a relationship. But I believe there's a lot more people out there who could be in a great relationship with you. We're just more addicted to the choices and potential than we are to the commitment and reality of healthy partnerships. So I'm going to ask you, do you think that all the choices that online dating supposedly gives us has made online dating better? Do you feel now like you have more power to make a better decision or less? And I definitely see, for those who are my avoidance and my disorganized attachment styles, who are already pretty scared of love and emotions, to use online dating as an excuse to never get close to someone, to never fully connect, and to continue to live in their fairy tale land that the perfect person is out there for them. I'm calling bullshit. Hear me now in case no one has ever told you this. You can date and be in a relationship with a lot of different types of people. Now, what does matter are relationship goals, relationship values, relationship styles. And if you don't know what those are, how do you see them? How do we pick them out? How do we choose them, whether it be online or in real life? So, what do you think? Knowing now about maximizers and satisfiers and the paradox of choice, do you think online dating is helping? Or are you with me that the paradox of choice, along with online dating, is actually keeping us further away from love? It adds wood to the fire of fear, of disconnect, of exhaustion, of rejection, and it leaves us feeling like there's nobody good out there for us. That's a fucking problem. And don't worry, I'll have more thoughts on the problems of online dating next week when I talk about online romance scams, what you need to know, why it matters, and why it's easier to get wrapped up in it than you think it is. If you liked this, if you loved it, please make sure you subscribe. Come check out reinventingdating.com. It's up. There is now day-long intensives. And one huge favor, please share this with the other singles that you know so we can all reinvent dating together. Because when we know what love is, when we know our mindsets, when we understand how we work, we understand the skills, we can get in better relationships, period. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Until then, don't forget to meet love halfway.